and we will strengthen the connection between Dominicans residing in the lovely Nature Isle and Dominicans residing abroad. National broadcaster DBS continues its quest to highlight and celebrate the achievements of Dominicans. We will discuss the highs and lows, the challenges and successes. Give us 90 minutes and we will solidify the connections we share with Dominicans all over. Anu celebrate achievement Dominice to all at connecting the dots. Tune in this Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Come join us as we weave a tapestry and strengthen our connections. ASU Radio DBS. Okay, people, good morning. Welcome. Bonjour, wherever you are. Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour famille. Bonjour copain. Bonjour camarade. Bonjour Makoum. Jeune monde, grand monde, tout le monde. Bienvenue à ce all of mission à ce Radio DBS connecting the dots. It's it's our time again. 90 minutes. Just give us 90 minutes. We'll have fun. We'll connect and we'll strengthen the ties that bind us as Dominicans. And so every Saturday we look forward to this program, and we are so happy that we have a core of people that are so committed to viewing and enjoying the program every Saturday. And for that, we are pleased. So good morning, one. Good morning, all. Let me call a few names now. So I can call Vado, Helen Henderson, Sonia Williams, Lauren Banis, Robert Waggin, Winnie Green, Glenn Shilling, for Eddie John Baptist, Virginia Mays Francis, Karen Levy, Roslyn Severin McLean, Waggin, Joe Cam, Albert Thomas, wow, Snapper, Kofi, and Reynolds of Lanning. Nigel, come on, help me.
Hey,
where's Nigel?
What's up? Good morning.
What, Nigel? Wow. I like your attire. That's nice.
Well, thank you. It's the the second part of the official opening, for Independence today, so I have to represent accordingly,
Of course, yeah. So represent Nigel. So I was quite a few names. Anyone you want to add even before we go to the book and all of that?
Well, before we go to the book, some names to add. Well, let's say good morning to Terry and Bino, who always listens up. Liz, good morning to you. Janet Dow, good morning to you. Emil Paben Sarah, good morning. Man Pecker, good morning to you. Of course, Dr. Dubs, good morning to you. Always nice to know you're locked on and locked in. So many names, right? When we start counting them, it's like, okay, let's see.
Too numerous to mention.
Talifia Charles, good morning to you. Juliet, good morning to you. Everybody, all the City family, good morning.
Yes.
Because if we start counting and we started that a while ago, we're gonna miss out one or two, right? But good morning to all the City families, all those who've been previous guests, good morning to you. We appreciate the fact you took some time to connect with us. So, we love that. We love that. How are you doing, How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing all right. What about you, Nigel? What did Helen do?
I'm here holding on, Helen didn't do too much damage in my particular area. More of the damage was in the north. So, a little wind and rain, but not too much to shout about. So that's good. But of course, to the rest of the residents that's got affected in Florida and, the rest of the Southeast and everything else in Georgia, I know one of our producers, part-time producers, good morning to you. I know his house got a little bit of, water. So, the basement and the little things here and there. So good morning to you, Alvin. Hope everything is okay. And, but, we survived. We survived. So that's a beautiful thing about it. But, to those who got affected in one way or the other, we certainly send our blessings and prayers over to you and wish you speedy recovery as well.
Well, that's good to know. Because I was wondering, Nigel, I was following myself, and I was wondering, how did Helen grow from a relatively weak tropical storm to a major cat for Hurricane Nigel?
You realize that's what's happening with the hurricanes these days, right? You tune in 1 minute and they're like just a tropical depression, a little tropical storm, nothing to shout about. And then within the next couple of hours or by overnight, you hear it's a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, where did you get developed? You know what I mean? But listen, those warm waters are really fertile soil for those hurricanes. So again, climate change is real, man.
It is real. I was listening to a climatologist, and he was saying that there is evidence that as the planet heats up, rapid intensification is frequent. And of course, you have been seeing this over the years.
Yes. It is going to get worse. I mean, there was a time we never knew anything about a Category 4 hurricane, it was, but nowadays it seems like when the hurricanes decide to come through, it's going to move up to a 3 or 4 very quickly, so definitely it's real. It's out there and happening at some strange times. You notice the hurricanes now are coming towards the latter part of the season. When you were growing up, you started thinking about, how do you call it? June too soon, July standby, August you must, September remember, October all over.
Yes.
Well, that's not the case anymore. Almost feels like September is the month that the hurricanes are coming now.
Yeah. Particularly busy around that time.
And
it ends in November.
Yes, we still have another 2 months to go,
Boy. But it is what it is.
But hey, we're here.
Yes. We're here. Yes. So yes, Nigel, the Independence season is on. It's a grand parade this afternoon. I see you dressed and ready for your parade. I'm not checking your street marshal.
As soon as we're done with the program, I get some water and stuff, and I head down to opening of the parade. Yes, through the streets of Roseau.
Yes. I think from Portersville to start from Portersville.
Yes.
And climax on the promenade.
On the promenade.
Yeah.
So it should
be good,
parade.
featuring various aspects of our culture, and our heritage. So that's good.
Yes, and it's the first of its kind. So certainly let me congratulate the cultural division, division of culture for trying different things, different ways of coping in the independence season. So looking forward to a good independence season.
Yes. Oh yes, I look forward to it as well, Nigel. We'll make it work on our end as far as the season is concerned and connecting the dots, because we too, we will, do what we have to do. And as I say that, let me just shout out all the groups, especially those outside of Dominica, the associations, preparing, of course, for the celebration of independence. And as I big them up as well, Nigel, let us big up Marlon Dawe.
Oh yes.
Because Marlon is doing a lot, a lot. That's my boy.
Yes. So
we really have to big him up. I think he really continues to promote not just our music, our culture as well. And for that, we really have to salute him.
Yes.
I think there's a big event coming up. Is it next weekend around this?
Well, I mean,
Miami
Carnival is coming up.
Yes, coming up.
Miami Carnival. So, Marlon is always making sure that he has a big event at Lalo's with Asa and Triple K and the rest of them. And of course, Elka. Good morning to you, Elka, getting ready for Juve and for Riverland Mass. So, after Independence this weekend, I have Miami Carnival to deal with next weekend, and then the other weekend, and it's just a whole heap of weekends. And then, of course,
I miss you on Saturday, man. I just be partying somewhere.
Well, I will do it from where I am,
Okay, of course.
We shall connect from where we are,
That's it.
Yes,
that's the vibe.
Yes. And then, of course, heading to Dominica as well. So, we'll be partying down there as well, taking my foot in Dominica, hopefully.
Of course. Yeah, man.
Yes. Alvin, what happened to you? Alvin, tell me if I in DA. Nigel, you in DA, my friend? Not yet.
Hey.
But I will be.
Not yet.
Not yet. The next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. And as we pick up Alan as well, let us also pick up the organizers of the Houston Afro Creole Music Festival.
Yes.
It's on next weekend, I think.
Glenn
Yes,
next weekend. That's coming through. Always a big event up there in Houston. And I know they're getting ready. I know Glenn and his team has been working to make sure that the event is going to be a big one again. So it's always nice when you have Dominicans throughout the diaspora that's planning events and making sure they can keep the culture and keep Dominica alive, you know. It's always good for that representation, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate you guys doing that for us, you know.
So Nigel, quickly for the Dominica corner, let me just ask you a simple question. What is the theme for this year's independence celebration? That's easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Easy peasy,
you know. I know that like the top of my head and now it come out. I cannot believe that. Help me.
Just 4 words. Just 4 words. So that's a big hint. And another hint as well is in Creole.
Yes, and I mean I've been saying it all week and now it's just not coming through my mouth.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it in English and you give me the translation in Creole.
Go ahead.
Because it's Creole, this year. So our land, our gifts. Our country, our gifts.
Our country. I think it's something Cardone, something like that, right?
Right. Cardone.
Yes. Cardone.
Yeah, man.
But that's a wonderful thing.
Yes,
and I'm glad you put it in Creole, short and sweet to the point, and you just remember it right there and there, you know. I don't know why I was thinking of Latin, UK Academy, I don't know why, but anyway, same thing. Yes, our land, our country.
What were you thinking of?
Kisa?
Yes. Our country, our gifts. Our land, our gifts, yes. That's our gifts. Cardone, that's, Cardone is gift.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so I know we have a guest. We're going on to her very, very shortly. But who is on, Nigel? Anybody? Is he on, by the way?
Yes.
Is he around already?
Actually, he was on early because the last couple of Saturdays he's been late. So he was on very early this morning. Yes, good morning to you, Alvin. Joe Cam is late this morning. I haven't seen him yet. But good morning to you, Joe Cam, Cecilia Dorset, good morning. And of course, Marceline Edwards, always locked on. Good morning. Norrin Joseph, we forget you, no man. Good morning to you, Norrin. Always locked on from wherever she is. She continued to be locked on. Snapper Laura is always on. Maybe Thomas is always on. You know, and Carl Kofi James, as always, is there. Yes, Hamilton Joseph, good morning to you. Edwina London, always locked in from Houston. Shields Jules, always on the seat of the train, seat of the family, good morning to you. Joe and Coffee Benjamin, good morning to you. Good morning, my dear friend Giselle, good morning to you. Catherine Janice Layton, I'm always locked in from California, even if it's like, 6:37, she makes sure she's on, so good morning to you as well. Always listening from Sacramento, California. And, you know, all the others who are saying good morning, good morning. Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you connected with us. Muriel Stewart, good morning. And what I've been saying, the last couple of Saturdays, he was late. Yes, he was late, but you early this morning. So good morning to all those who are locked on the YouTube as well. Good morning to you. I know that there are many people locked on the YouTube side. I'll go there in a few to see who's on. But it's going to be, as always, you know, lovely connecting with our guests and connecting with our seats of the family. As we mentioned, lots of events taking place. Opening of Independence in Dominica, the Miami Carnival coming up, Houston Afro-Caribbean Festival is on next weekend. So it's all over, and we appreciate everybody that's always locked in and connecting with us. And we're getting ready to introduce our guest for this morning. But for those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome to Connecting the Dots, DBS Radio, every Saturday. Ivona and I have been doing this for you for the last 4+ years, and we shall continue to connect as best as we can with our Dominican family, whether they're in Dominica or not. I think it looks like Ivona having a little bit of internet issues. I don't know when she coming from vacation. That's the problem. When you're on vacation, you're enjoying it so much, you know. So we will give her a little few to see if she can jump.
It's not my fault, it's not. Yes,
it's okay.
my last week.
But take your foot.
Back to work next week.
Oh, you're back? Okay. You're coming in
back
the
to
middle,
next week.
you're coming back in the middle of the independence thing.
Yes, sir. Who does that, eh?
I know.
I should have learned long time.
You're coming in the heat of the thing.
The heat of the thing, eh?
You're coming in the heat of the thing. But that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. You're coming back refreshed and ready to, you know, to rock and roll. So that's good. That's good. That's good. Yes. So we are ready for our guest.
We're gonna bring on our guest, Nigel.
Yeah. Yes, we should. Yes. Who is viewing from Antigua? Well, good morning to you as well, Paul, who's viewing from Antigua. So we have Antigua, we have Houston, we have London, we have California, we have Florida, we have Atlanta, Georgia. So it's nice to connect with you guys throughout. And of course, we have Dominica. Else we have, who I forget, we'll say they have Boston, nice Boston. So beautiful connection.
Yeah.
Our guest.
I'm
gonna give you the honors to do the guest today, because I know that, you know, you've had a lot of discussions with her, and she has such a wonderful story to share.
Oh, yes.
It's been doing. So
yes.
I'm going to give you, New York want to tell me we're there too. Yes, good morning to you, New York. You see the problem? You see what I started
nice.
Now? Yes, I started seeing now. Oh, everybody want to check in and tell me where they're from, where they are, where they're listening to.
Of course, I like that. I like
St. Thomas, good morning to you. Good to know that you're on as well, St. Thomas. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, London. Thank you, London. London is on. Look trouble for us. You see the trend we start now? But London, good morning to you. Good to know that you're on in London, Stephanie.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yes.
Yes, good morning.
St. Croix, good morning. Yes, and good to know you're from St. Croix and you're locked on as well. Okay, I am in Seattle, Washington. Good morning to you. Okay, I finished that now. But good morning to you, C-Cat from Seattle, Washington.
I mean, throughout the program, when you get a chance, now and then we will
yes, them we will go back and continue. We'll tell you to give us a check-in before. Let us stop. Okay, good morning, St. Lucia. Good to know St. Lucia is on. Dexter Laffel, good morning. Toronto, good morning to you. Peter Dover in Toronto, Canada. I'm going to see we connected throughout the world, right? Curacao, good morning to you, Curacao. Janet Robinson, good to know Curacao is locked in as well.
And St. Lucia had some big celebration.
Yes, St. Lucia had a very big event and celebration for, you know, Julia and Alfred. That's wonderful, yes. New Jersey, good morning to you. Martin Edwards, of course, United Airlines is going to be flying from New Jersey to Dominica starting February 15th. Big things are happening. We appreciate that. We'll book your flight now for Carnival 2025. So yes, New Jersey is here, and you can start getting your flights now pretty cheap. Okay, I wanna.
Yes. So it's time to be on our guest.
Everybody, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Nigel, obviously, we have had a lot of young people on Connecting the Dots, and I'm saying this. You hear me, Nigel?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Beautiful.
Nigel, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Because I have some issues. I realize I have some issues.
Okay, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me now?
I'm hearing you. So yeah, but I was saying that we have had a lot of young people on Connecting the Dots for a while now. You know, their stories have taught us so much. You know, be it in education, be it in sports, in health, in entrepreneurship, you know, and other areas. And today, who has done so much already? And when you look at it, when a young person can create a foundation which benefits all the people, it's a major feat. And obviously, she has many other interests and goals, but it's a story to tell. So we welcome her today on Connecting the Dots. Rianna, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing?
Yes, yeah, my boy, my dear.
Yeah, yes. I like the hairstyle, showing your natural hair in all its glory, in all its beauty. That's nice.
Yes, for sure.
So we welcome you to Connecting the Dots. I know it's a while you have been trying to get you on. I think it would have been maybe even 2 years ago or something like that. Yes. I remember there was a time we even did the flyer and something happened. I remember as well, you know, anyway, the thing is that you're on and you have a story to tell, and we really want to hear your story. So thank you for agreeing to join us on Connecting the Dots. Right, Nigel?
Yes, we certainly appreciate it, Rianna, for agreeing to be our guest after trying to connect with you for some time. But, you know, we have a thing here, we say the universe unfolds as it should, you know, so nothing happens before it's time kind of a thing. So we appreciate you today. And we'll find out about your story, your journey, and what the great things you've been doing, even in your young life. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to know that. So we've connected the dots, as you probably may know. We like to start from the beginning, even if you're young. We always like to know your journey from the beginning. So for those who don't know, what part of Dominica are you from?
So I would say Picard. My grandparents my grandmother was from Collyholm and my grandfather was from Salisbury, but they raised me in Picard.
Okay, so we have Collyholm, Picard, Salisbury, a combination of all, but you really grew up in Picard. So tell us a little about growing up in Picard. What was it like, you know, for you growing up in Picard?
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely amazing. I would go to the beach all the time. I was in between the river and the beach. But I'm not a beach person personally, so I would just go to the beach. And then we would take walks, you know, in the evenings and go to church. That was a big thing for me. We were in church every Sunday. You know, sometimes I would do youth groups. When the National Youth Council of Portsmouth was, you know, in operation, I was also involved in that. And yeah, I mean, growing up was just so fruitful. There were hardships, obviously, with every journey, but you know, it was just amazing. I, you know, really enjoyed my childhood, and it gave me solid foundations for my next steps, I would say, you know.
Nice. I love that. The river, the beach, taking evening walks in Picard and everything else. So you went to what, preschool and primary school in the Portsmouth area?
So I went to primary school and secondary school in the Portsmouth area.
All right. What was it like in primary school? You went to what, St. John's Primary or?
So I shuffled around a bit, only because I was bullied in those latter earlier years of my life. So I went to Savon Pie. So I graduated from Savon Pie Primary, but I also went to RDPS. I was in St. John's Primary for a bit, and then even Ross University Prep, and then homeschooled. So yeah, primary school was a bit of a maze. There was a lot going on there. So I took a pinch of every experience, I would say. But yeah, I shuffled around a few primary schools in Portsmouth area.
And I know you kind of just glossed over it and you said you were kind of bullied, so you went through different things, you know, but that's a story, you know, that we will explore, because that sort of laid the foundation for other things that you were doing. Yes. You know, so the Roosevelt Douglas Primary, you know, St. John's, Savon Pie, Ross University Prep. So you were moving around, and you'll tell us, you know, what might have been the cause for you to be moving around so much in all these different little schools and stuff like that. Sure. But in terms of the experiences of being in those different schools, you know, would you say it sort of was more of a positive for you?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, I connected with different young people from different backgrounds and personalities. You know, everyone has a story in them. Everyone has a story to tell, you know. So I was always around stories, always around, you know, just pure joy. The way that, I don't know, the educational system here is something that I have never experienced in any other country, to be honest. What we get here, you cannot even put a price on that. You know what I mean? The joy, the songs, the hymns, the, you know, cultural infusion in the educational system. It's just one of a kind. It's the best place to study. So I think it really provides a space for creativity, for cultural expression, and then also just finding your sense of belonging as well as a young person. So I think that's what that phase of my life really taught me, you know, and to be playful and always bring that in every stage of life. I think some people, you know, we forget that we can bring that part of ourselves to our present, even though we're 20, we're 30, we're 40. we must always remember to add fun into everything, because life is meant to be enjoyed, you know. So serve well, but also, you know, have your fun as well. That is, you know, nothing's wrong in that. So I think that's what the early years really also taught me. You know, we would always have time for PE, time for games, time for exchanging in dialogue. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Man, I can already begin to feel the power of Rianna.
Yeah. Yes, Nigel, I like this. I'm not sure if you're hearing me now, right?
Yes.
Because I've had some issues, but I hope I'm better now.
Yes,
but I really like what she said and how she ties in, you know, the early days, and she remembers, because it has really created set the foundation for who she is today.
Definitely
so. I truly love this.
I love that. But as you mentioned, in the midst of that, you know, you also had some of the challenges as well, as it relates to, you know, something we don't like to talk about, but which is important, you know, the whole issue of bullying. Yes. Especially if, you know, younger kids. You want to share that experience a little with us?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, although I grew up in Dominica, a part of me also grew up in England. So I think it was also finding my footing into the whole, you know, school system space, where I kind of sounded different. I maybe had looked different, and mannerisms that I had, potentially was a bit different to what people experience. So they were like, hey, but why is she talking like that? Nah? And it's just like, okay, but this is me. This is a part of me. You know what I mean? But anyways, just to avoid any further constraints, I, you know, took on the accents and, you know, the different little connotations, the we, the yes, the no, the whatever, you know what I mean? So I could just fit in. So it was so interesting, because I count myself as Dominican. I am Dominican. But when you hear a different accent, you're like, that person really Dominican? No, what's going on there? So yeah, I guess it's just very interesting. So, you know, I did kind of alter my accent to fit the local framework. And yeah, from there, I felt like people were starting to warm up to me. But, you know, sometimes children are troublesome anyways. So that doesn't even bother them. So yeah, it was quite interesting. But that is sort of the experiences that I felt. I felt like, you know, a bit different, but then also trying to accept my difference and not allow the outside noise to filter my voice. At some point, I did become silent in school. You know, I didn't really say much. I was just a shy girl in the corner. You know, even though I had the answer in my head, sometimes I wouldn't even say it, because I'm just like, why bother? I kind of want to be part of the furniture. I want to be invisible in a sense. You know, so I did lose my voice a bit, and then was only vocal with a few friendship groups, like my close friends. You know, I would articulate my views, my, you know, irks and so on. But with other people, yeah, they would just see me as the shy girl to some degree. But it's only after, I think, after a time, you know, as you get older, you just decide you're not worrying with what people say or people think. You're just doing you, and that is the best that you can do. So I came to a realization, and yeah, just started just doing me regardless. And you know, I guess it worked for me. You know, I found my voice again, and even to a degree that I didn't even know I was capable of, you know, public speaking and going on these international stages and so on. You know, I couldn't even go in front of the crowd for assembly, much less. So I would say that I am blessed for the growth, you know, that God has provided and is using me in various wonderful ways. But it was definitely a journey from that Rianna to this Rianna we know now. But yeah, I mean, life's a journey, and we can only get better from there. So yeah, that is a bit of my experiences, the challenges of navigating who you are in the school framework in Dominica, I would say.
Man, I don't know, you can see that they say out of babes and sucklings, wisdom shall come through, and you can begin to see that coming through Rianna, and even using her bad experiences in a way to kind of motivate her to what she's doing now. And I mean, I know the wonderful journey you've had, but you're going to share that because it's such a great journey in what you're doing now. And, as you mentioned, the fact that you had to, and it's a phenomenon throughout where you have to find yourself code switching.
Yes.
Which happens, you come to a different country and sometimes you have to have a certain accent depending on where you are. And for those of us who are out there, we know what that feels like because we have to do it sometimes, And although at some point I still decided, you know what, nah, I'm going to be who I be and that's it. But occasionally you have to go back to the code switch. So I can imagine how it was especially for kids. And that's something we experience as kids in terms of like kids who are either not born in Dominica, or even those who are born in Dominica, but have parents who are outside of Dominica. So they grew up a little bit outside of Dominica and they have this accent. And we used to kind of make fun of their accent and make them feel like they're not Dominican because you have this accent and who you think you are and you're talking differently.
And it has been happening for years back, not just now. It's for years, even when I was a child at school, that bullying, that it was always there. It was really always there, and especially for, as you said, a young girl, a young boy, who was born in another country, so a lot was happening, especially at the school level, whereas this was concerned. But I wanted to find out from her though, where did you find your refuge? Was it in books or in music? So when you went home, what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, when I went home, I would just share my experiences with my grandparents, my mom. I grew up an only child, so I would write my feelings. I would listen to music. I would take walks and just indulge in the things that make me happy. I think I was happier sometimes when I was at home because I was in my own space. I enjoyed my own solitude. I had my family there that showered me with love and appreciation. So what I was not experiencing at school, I definitely got in the household. They made sure that they told me that I was loved and appreciated, and don't worry with the children, just do what you need to do. Education is important. That was something, a core principle of mine, education. My grandmother, she would not have it. She would be like, finish your education, finish your degree, go and get your degree at university. Like she was, quote unquote, just hard on me in terms of, pursuing my educational pathways. So yeah, I thank God for that principle that she drilled into me quite young. Because yeah, education, no one can take your education away from you. That's what my grand would always say. Jobs come and go and so on, but education, it doesn't have an expiry date. You know what I mean? You've worked for it, you will always have it. So yeah, I think just the nurturing environment that my family provided for me and supportive, they were at every parent meeting. My grandparents, let me tell you, they were at every parent meeting, even though they weren't my parents. So it was just like that kind of overwhelming support, it keeps you going. So I think I took refuge in that as well. Just the love and everything was just undeniable. So yeah.
Wow, what a story.
That solid family foundation, man. Yes. It's always good when you have that support system, So Rianna, so from primary school, bounced around and so on, you then moved to what school next?
Yes, so after Southern Pie, I went to the Portsmouth Secondary School, PSS. And then after that was the Dominica State College.
How was high school for you? Tell us about your high school years.
High school was something similar as well, but I just decided, I mean, it's not good to run from your problems sometimes, So I did experience bullying at PSS as well, but I just felt like, going to another school won't change it. So it's just something I need to face and deal with accordingly. And over time, I found my voice, I found my sense of belonging, I found my friends, my social network that allowed me to find my footing in the school system once again. So yeah, it was an interesting time. I was a prefect as well. I really enjoyed that responsibility. That was really interesting. And then we had hours to do, as you know. So I volunteered with the Portsmouth Library. And I think my friends really, they changed over the years. But I think maybe from third form, it became like a consistent friendship group. And they just made it worthwhile. You know, the experience was really worthwhile. I think even after all of that, I would still say school days are our best days. I've had some really amazing times playing cricket, playing this, playing that sports day. You know, I did the track, I did the relay and all of that, you know, going for ice pop after school. I mean, life was good. You cannot complain.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
yeah,
You enjoyed it. Even if you were child, you enjoyed it. That's
yes,
important.
But
definitely.
were you
And
still,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, were you still kind of shy during high school as well?
To some degree as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, but I think it fluctuated, you
Mm.
know, depending on what I was experiencing. I was less shy or more shy, but yeah, I think my friendship group really also helped me to become, you know, the person that I was when I left school. So yeah, when I started PSS, I was definitely a different person to graduating from PSS. I felt like I was a bit more confident and I kind of knew who I was as a person and where I was going because my grandfather had dementia in, I think, fourth form. And yeah, that was a very tricky time for me. I didn't really know too much about dementia. It was very much surface level Alzheimer's and so on from TV adverts. So when it happened in my family, that's where I became more aware of dementia and wanting to learn more and understand how to support the family as well. So just looking for resources online. I couldn't find anything local. So it was just trying to adapt what was already existing, which was a bit hard because you don't really have anything to work off. It was just what it was. So I was using like UK resources from Alzheimer's Society UK. And that experience was something I just would never forget. It was so hard losing my grandfather. He was my father figure. I did some counseling as well at PSS. So in the breaks or, you know, being excused from classes to see the counselor to just kind of unpack what I was feeling and experiencing because everyone was experiencing different things. You know, he was a husband to my gran, he was a father to my mom, and they have, you know, other relations with him in a sense, and even a longer time with him. So they were also going through things. So it was very hard to even go to them for support in that case. Although they were always supportive of me, I felt like they were also experiencing their own hardships and trying to deal with the turbulent times because with dementia, every minute, every hour, every day is different. So your mood also changes with the current situation at hand. So yeah, I think from that experience, it kind of opened my eyes to where I kind of wanted to go in life because I changed my career maybe 3 times in high school. I wanted to be a lawyer. Then I just thought, oh, well, law's not for me. I dropped history, I dropped this. I took social studies on instead. Then I wanted to be a doctor. And then I was just like, I cannot do these years. I just kind of commit. It's just so much. I don't know. And medicine, and it sounds intense. I left that alone. Then I wanted to be a fashion designer. My grandmother watched me in my eyes. She said, Rianna, that don't have no money in that now. So I said, okay, well, finish with that. So it was like a question mark in fourth form. I didn't know where I was going in terms of my career after that. But with the experience of my grandfather, I was like, okay, I don't really know what my career looks like at the moment, but I certainly want to explore this field further to understand how someone can forget their loved ones, forget themselves, forget core memories that they've held for years. I couldn't understand it. And I was curious as to how that happens, you know, why we do what we do, human behavior, brain behavior. And that kind of set the framework to, you know, explore this further. So I would say, yeah, I came out of high school having a clearer direction as to what I want to explore next. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you are truly a tireless advocate for dementia. I mean, we want to go back to that dementia experience because we want to stay on this for a while, right, Nigel?
Oh, yes.
You want to stay on dementia for a while. But, okay, so you're in high school. let us continue the journey. When you left high school, you went to Dominica State College, and then where next you went to. So we want to go in that order, and then we want to come back to that dementia experience.
Yes, we want to focus on that later on. So you moved from high school, and then by the way, did you continue like in track and stuff when you were in high school, or?
So yes, the same thing.
Okay.
Sports day, I was there every day doing, the relay and everything else. I quite enjoyed that, to be honest. That was like the highlights. And then there was Creole Day as well, which I would also come in. For PSS, we had Freaky Friday sometime in October. So I would come with the wackiest clothes and no one would judge me. So that was great. I came with my grandfather shirty time and then a tie. And then when I look back, I say, boy, I really go on the bus like that. Because, like school environment is one thing, and then there's like the outer world. And I'm just wondering, I wonder if the bus driver even know Freaky Friday is something. Imagine me just picking up somebody with a tie, a shirt, or like one socks and a I just thought, oh my goodness. But it's a free country, right? So
Oh yes.
On the bus like that, went to school, and I mean, it even got crazier. There were people in skirts, there were people just in wigs, in all kind of colored wigs, dyed wigs. I mean, oh my days. Yes, I enjoyed that time.
You enjoyed that time. And then of course, from there you moved on to State College.
Yes.
And just again, what was the experience like over there at State College?
Yes, so at the Dominica State College, I did an associate's degree in psychology, and I really enjoyed it. It was so interesting. We learned about Sigmund Freud, we learned about Carl Rogers, Piaget, and so on, and their significant contributions to this area. And then also I founded the Dominica State College Psychology Club, because I kind of wanted, a club that kind of relates to my major. And they said, well, Rianna, there's nothing like that at the moment. So I decided to start it with, the students that I was attending school with. And yeah, we did, a few mental health awareness things, some stalls and so on. And that, I guess, was my introduction to leadership in a sense, to some degree. And yeah, I made more friends and got more involved in volunteering. There was the Dominica Psychological Society that just launched during the time that I was in college. So I reached out to them. I went to some of their AGMs and events, and that also opened me up to learning about, a career of some kind in mental health or psychology, because it's a group of psychologists and counselors in Dominica. They're still active to this day. We were with them actually yesterday at the Dominica State College at their health expo. So it was nice, nostalgic moment to be back at my alma mater in another capacity. But yeah, so I joined the DPS and other things, took on other courses at college. I did some, I think it wasn't creative writing, but something along some essay writing module. And I thoroughly enjoyed that with Miss Dyramble. I saw her yesterday as well. So that was lovely. And yeah, I think I enjoyed the Dominica State College experience. It was really interesting, and got an opportunity to learn more about psychology, which was quite nice.
Would you say, because it almost feels like one of that's from State College, we're almost beginning to see the Rianna we see today. Would you say by then at State College you had begun to kind of lose some of the shyness and start to find your voice even more?
Yes, certainly. I would say so. I felt like I was trying new things and getting out of my comfort zone. And by that time, I, had an understanding even more so of who I was and the type of friends I want to associate with and the type of things I want to get involved in. So the puzzles was, piecing together. Well, I would say.
It doesn't sound like it doesn't seem like you you were a troublesome child during school. Seems like you kind of focused. Which is good. Which is good. And surrounded yourself by people who are going to push you in the right direction, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there were challenges in DSC as well, but more academic challenges. So we had to do I think it was algebra and stats. That was my first introduction to statistics, and I'm just not a math person naturally. You know.
You're like Ivona.
I think I was.
Oh yeah, oh dear. So when it came to that, it just blew my mind. I was just like, I don't know, I don't get it. I was really struggling, but it's just something I had to overcome. I think there were points where I did fail one or two modules, and you have to pass everything to graduate. And I ended up taking maybe 4 courses in the summer, and they were like, Rianna, no one has ever done that before. But I'm like, well, I want to end off on a strong note. So, I will try to manage as I can. And yeah, it was tough. But I managed and was able to finish on a good standing. And that really prepared me for the next journey, which was university. But I felt like I needed to take a break. Life is not a sprint. So I took a break. I took a year break, a gap year, and did some volunteering with the Dominica Council of Women in town. And that's where I was introduced to Miss Tina Alfred, who's doing amazing work in gender-based violence and so on in Dominica. And then, say again?
Tina Alfred?
Yeah,
Tina
Alfred, yes.
Okay, but it was Tina Alexander. Okay, so that's another one.
She worked quite closely with Sister Tina Alexander.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the Tinas.
The Tinas, I know.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And then
so you went to university. Tell us, because I really want to stay a while on dementia and Alzheimer's. I don't want to rush you, but I'm looking at the time. Of course, it goes by quickly. So
okay,
but let's go. You're at university. What's next?
Yeah, so university, I did a bachelor's degree in psychology. I was very involved in university life. I was the social media officer for Kent Caribbean Union. Around the time Dominica was devastated by Hurricane Maria. So that was an ample time to kind of support the student community and do something for Dominica. So we raised, I think, over £1,000 or so for Dominica, and we provided that to the High Commissioner of Dominica as well. Apart from academics, I was involved with the Miss Caribbean UK pageantry. So I was a contestant finalist at that, and that was quite interesting. It's something I never really done before, and I really enjoyed it. It was challenging, balancing practice and school life and all of that, but I knew...
Well, in local palace, you would say, well, Rianna, you come out.
Yes.
And that's good, eh? That's good.
Yeah,
that shy girl now on the stage.
Exactly. I think people didn't really expect that at all. It took me by surprise. So yeah, but I enjoyed that. That was really interesting, and also met, just inspiring young women, doing fantastic work in their community. So that was good. And then just shortly after that, I was invited to be a contestant for the Miss Warb Duet UK show that's hosted by the Waitikobuli Cultural and Tourism Initiative. And that was hosted at the Dominica High Commissioner in London. And it was a bit of a stretch, because I was just like, I didn't really win the Miss Caribbean UK, and now I'm doing this other show, but I'm just like, anything for Dominica. I just love Dominica. I want to serve Dominica. So I just went for it, and I actually won. So I was the Miss Warb Duet UK reigning queen, as they say. And yeah, my tenure was good, and also balancing, school life and that as well. And I think, I was very active, in those 3 years, I was very active, and then also focusing on my studies. My dissertation was on the impact of dementia gardens in the UK. So that was part of a wider project. And that also was really nice to just work on dementia, because my degree was psychology, so quite broad. We focused on health psychology and so on. So yeah, just to focus on that really meant a lot to me. So I think that is something like a highlight I'm taking away from my university experience. But it also opened me to a global network of people. I met people from parts of Australia, from parts of Canada, from the Caribbean, of course. But yeah, it broadened my professional network on a global scale, I would say as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's probably a nice way for us to get into your journey in terms of dementia and so on. But to tie that in, being in the UK, what was it like in terms of was there a culture shock? Were you exposed to things you had not known before and you're now facing it, head on? What was like, what has been the UK experience for you before we get into the dementia?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the UK experience really broadened my capacity to do work, to do projects, to multitask, you know what I mean? Because I was doing studies, I was doing extracurricular things, I was working on my personal development, and that never stopped. As you know, you get to the working phase of your life and then you have to manage all your other interests and so on. So I think it really built my capacity as a person to manage various projects. I think the UK really enhanced my productivity levels. And I guess the person that I became in the UK was also incredibly different from the person that left the Dominica to go to the UK as well. So yeah, I think I became more professional. I guess naturally anyways, you go through that stage of life after university, going into the work environment and adapting. So that's kind of like what happened for me, I would say. Yeah.
Did you find yourself wanting to express yourself as a Black woman in the UK?
Yes, I think what I recognized was we are part of the minority over there. So I felt like even more so, I wanted to represent Dominica at any given opportunity. I would say I'm Dominican, I'm representing Dominica, I'm doing this for Dominica.
Nice.
I want people to know of our island. We are unique and talented and wonderful people. We have a rich history. And sometimes it's just disheartening when people are like, oh, Dominican Republic, oh, do you speak Spanish? Oh, wow, that's an island. Wait a minute, is that in the Caribbean? Where is it in the world? And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
We're getting it very wrong. Like, Dominica, I mean, people need to know about Dominica. I'm not just saying this as a Dominican, but we have unique, prospects that you just don't find anywhere else in the world. We're really unique people. And, I mean, so that is kind of like something that, propelled me to even do more for Dominica, to represent this country that I love and that is so unique. So I became the trustee of the Dominica UK Association and continue on to this day. I do PR work for them. And then I also joined the Waitikubuli Tourism and Culture Initiative as a board member, but now I am just a regular member, but still quite involved in what they're doing as well. And we have close dealings with the Dominica High Commissioner's Office. And yeah, I just wanted to embed myself even more so. And I guess find my people, find my community in the UK. Because in Dominica, well, I have my community existing, but in London, it was a bit different. I need to really put myself out there to find my people and collaborate and exchange dialogues and so on. So yeah, I think that was also something, navigating the UK as a minority, as they classify, I would say. Yeah.
Excellent.
What a story, Nigel.
Yes.
What a story.
Yes. I mean, such a wonderful journey already, as a young person. From Savonpai, Picard, all the way to the UK and all the things you experienced in between high school, college, and everything else. But along all that journey, Rianna, I guess the experience of your grandfather, getting diagnosed with dementia. At the time he was diagnosed, did you know it was dementia, or it was just a matter of people trying to figure out what is wrong with him?
Yeah, I think it was a matter of understanding what it is. I understood that he probably had dementia, so probable dementia. So that is kind of like where I just kind of sat with my independent study, trying to understand what dementia is. And then on the death card, it did say dementia, but it said senile dementia. And I was a bit shocked because I'm just like, senile is like a cultural connotation that is quite stigmatized. Like it's not a classified type of dementia. It's just something that we say, oh, that person's senile and so on. So that was a bit worrying. And then I saw Parkinson's disease. I was like, okay, well, that's actually a formal diagnosis of dementia. So yeah, he had Parkinson's disease, but in the midst of it, it was very unclear as to what it was exactly. You know, he experienced stiffness at some point and then forgot how to eat and talk and engage. And it was really hard seeing him in that light, to be honest, because you know, especially when you have the experience of him being so active and engaging and driving and, you know, doing things in the yard and going on, you know, to syndicate and so on. So seeing him in a different light, it was really hard to process, you know, because I always had my grandfather at home doing his thing, you know, we playing dominoes and now I don't even know if my grandfather even had that memory of us playing dominoes anymore, you know, and it came to a point where he didn't remember me. And that was also
what age was he though when you started seeing the signs, when he started exhibiting the symptoms?
yes, so I was 16 and I was the one actually that brought it up to the family that we need to seek.
And he was about what age then?
He was, I want to say 79 because he passed away when he was 80.
Okay.
So yeah, thereabouts.
So of course we have I want to go back to something you said about senile dementia. I mean, we have not normalized talking about mental health in Dominica.
Yeah.
The stigma is there, the discrimination, they are ever present. How do we change the narrative? When you look back to where it all started with your grandfather and all the studies that you have done, what you are doing now, what is the message there
I think
changing the narrative?
Yes, that's a good question. I think there's a global conversation about healthy aging, you know, so changing the framework of healthy aging and then also maybe sometimes not using the word dementia, but brain health. You know, let's talk about brain health. It's more engaging, it's more inviting. So it's just using these kind of terminologies to invite, you know, include people into this conversation, I would say, because people are more interested in maybe talking about brain health and how to protect the brain and how to have a, you know, long life, but a fruitful life instead of let's talk about dementia. So I've also seen that when I've engaged people living with dementia that they know their diagnosis, but they don't want to talk about it. So if you say the word dementia, it's like a trigger word and they won't engage further because it's just not something they want to hear. It's not something they want to associate themselves with. And then you also have to remember, you know, the cultural context to it. People like to say like, my enemy has dementia. Instead, they say, I have it, because they don't want to accept it. You know, there's a battle with acceptance there. So talking about brain health and these things can be quite useful. And I mean, there's, you know, I guess a reality to it that you can live well with dementia, but there's also cases where people don't live well with dementia. So we need to kind of bring in those two sides to it and not just show dementia as, oh, someone is quote unquote suffering. You know, suffering from dementia is something that you normally hear, but I think we need to change the terminology to living with, you know, living with dementia instead of suffering from, because then it brings in that connotation that everyone that has dementia will suffer, which is not the case, you know, and some people have more support than others, and that allows their journey to be, you know, less hard in some sense. So I think it's just bringing in those conversations and bringing in real life stories, you know, getting people to actually share their personal experience kind of normalizes the conversation, because sometimes when you think about dementia, you can't even think of someone in the community that you know or anything like that. You know, you just think of it like a scientific term. But if you have actually real stories that, you know, inspire you to want to learn about it, I think that also helps the conversation as well. So like what we're doing here, talking about it on radio, talking about it on the TV, you know, bringing in those stories, it really brings a more personable, you know, notion to the area. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Yes. Words are powerful, so just changing those words alone could make such a big difference. You've done extensive work with dementia, and you're still continuing to do so. Just generally, in your research and your studies, have you found that dementia is something that is experienced more the older you are, or do you see like younger people probably having signs of it, or is there a particular age that you find it's coming through?
Yes, Nigel. So there's childhood dementia, which is infancy to 18. Then there's also young onset dementia, which is around in your 30s, thereabouts. And then there's the latter stages where people get dementia in their 50s, 60s, 80s, and so on. So yeah, I think the way to think about it is dementia doesn't really discriminate. Anyone can get it at any point in time. The rarer cases is childhood dementia and so on. But we're seeing more young people get like frontal temporal dementia, for example, and then older people also getting other types of dementia. So yeah, it can span from early years to older years, I would say.
What are some of the signs, the most common signs that you see for someone who might be getting to the point of being diagnosed with dementia? What are some of the common signs that you see?
Yes, so there's different things. There's personality changes. Actually, there's visual changes, so maybe changes in sight or changes in their hearing. Hearing loss is a risk factor for dementia. Hypertension is a risk factor. Obesity is a risk factor. So these kind of things kind of sit together. So there are comorbid stages of dementia as well. Memory loss is a big thing, but it depends on the severity and the frequency of the memory loss, because memory loss, it's quite natural. We forget, there's short-term memory, long-term memory, and so on. So that is something that would need to be monitored. But yeah, memory loss can also be an indicator of that as well. And then I guess just having lucid stages. There's also something called delirium, which is not dementia, but it's caused by infection and it kind of looks like dementia. So that is also something to be wary of. The other like skeletons of dementia, I would say. But yeah, I would say the warning signs, it's kind of like that. Also, for us personally, I identified driving. My grandfather, he was an excellent driver. He never got an accident in the UK, in Dominica. So when he started, I guess swerving and so on in the road when I was, on my way to school, because he would drop me, I realized, something's not quite right. And, he was ruminating about this experience as well. So it was stuff like that. Hallucinations, is something also quite obvious as well. It could be dementia, it could be other mental health conditions, but there are things like vascular dementia and Hutchinson's and so on, where there are experiences of visual hallucinations of that kind. So just being wary of that. But there's different things. Yeah.
Wow. Nigel, let's take the book. Any questions coming from
well, the book has been going very, very, very busy. They have
very
always
interesting
discussion by themselves there, Someone is asking, let's say this, very important not to stigmatize a person with dementia. It can start early in your 30s, 40s. This person wants to ask Wallace St. what are some of the things we can do to improve brain health, if that's possible?
Yeah.
So you want to share on that? Some of the things you think that can be done to improve brain health?
For sure. So we can build our cognitive resistance towards dementia by keeping the brain healthy. So eating well, having a healthy diet, exercising, both of these go hand in hand. Also doing things like playing dominoes, playing puzzles, any memory activity would also help. Education seems to be a withstander of dementia. I guess it's more about learning and helping the brain to kind of build its capacity to learn and remember. So education is also kind of like a protective risk factor for dementia as well. I guess also just engaging in things that create a good environment to live, because depression is also a risk factor for dementia. So just making sure that we're having a good quality of life, and you know, day in, day out, we are quite satisfied with our lives. So life satisfaction. And then what else? I guess also,
as you mentioned, and sometimes we do things and we don't recognize how important it is, right?
Yeah.
Reading the cultural context. Playing dominoes is something that is, you know, we just play dominoes, but we don't recognize how the memory and the importance that it has in terms of, you know, because when you're playing dominoes, you have to figure out stuff and who has this card and this one, and who's going to put this and put that and so on. So just a little thing like playing dominoes, which we probably seem as just a, you know, side thing, how important that can be for brain health.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So I'm thinking as well, I know you spoke about the different ages, but in your research, in your studies, have you also looked at the demographics where gender is concerned, as opposed to men and women? What have you observed?
Yeah, females are more susceptible to dementia, I would say, than males. And that can be because of more than one reasons. I think there is a conversation about menopause and that being associated with dementia, but also I guess women are more prone to be the caregivers and have that natural duty of care in them. So they take on further work and so on. So I would also say that is one of the many explanations. But yeah, females are more at risk of dementia than males.
Nigel, I'm just enjoying this discussion, you know, and I really love to listen to you, Rianna. It's to me, it's more than the depth of your knowledge. It's more like the breadth of your knowledge. I mean, you have studied this to the T. By the way, you received an award from, was it the Alzheimer's Association?
Yes, so I received an award for Alzheimer's from the Alzheimer's Association at the University of Chicago earlier this year. And that was also quite a joy for me, you know, to represent Dominica once again and my community and everything that I stand for and the work that we've done, but also to be recognized in the Alzheimer's space. You know, I felt like, you know, it was also another sense of belonging that, you know, I'm being accredited and acknowledged by, you know, this well-renowned Alzheimer's Association. So it just, you know, I guess provided further credibility to what I do. And, you know, I met some great people as well. I was just one of the awardees, but there were other people doing fantastic work in Brazil. And, you know, it was just truly an inspiring and memorable moment. But yeah, I received that award.
Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations.
I know you mentioned.
No, I was just about to say, as you mentioned Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that part of it now.
Yes, Alzheimer's is one of the main types of dementia and causes of dementia. It's quite memory-led, but there are also non-memory-led forms of it. So there's like non-fluent aphasia, there's a bit of ataxia in there, but primarily it's mainly, you know, memory-led. I think the main thing is episodic memory that is associated with Alzheimer's disease. But yeah, it's just one of many. There's like 100 types of dementia. But yeah, that's the main one.
Help me out there, Rianna. So you saw your grandfather, what he was going through. You were a shy girl back then. You found your voice later on. Yes. Obviously. You saw your experience what your grandfather was going through. You decided at some point that you were going to do more studies on dementia, and then you got the opportunity, so you went into it, Alzheimer's dementia. So you had to work, I'm sure, with a lot of people who had dementia. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting. Even most recently last year, I was invited to Spain to speak at the Walk in the Talk for Dementia. And that's where we did the Camino together with other global communities and people living with dementia and their carers. And there was one guy who has dementia and he's quite aware of his diagnosis. And I remember him not remembering me. And then he apologized for not remembering me. And I was just so taken aback, you know, because it was just like, he doesn't want to forget me, but it happened and he acknowledged that. So I felt like it was just something triggered in me, because I'm just like, my grandfather experience, for example, I don't know like what his kind of thought process was like at the time, but I guess it makes sense that, you know, they don't want to forget you. They don't want to forget their wives or their grandkids and, you know, all the wonderful people in their lives, but it happens and they hate it when it happens. So it's just thinking it's not them, it's the dementia, you know, and separating the person and the dementia, because there's more to the person than the dementia as well. But in that moment, I just thought, wow, that's something I've never experienced before. And it just opened up, you know, a fresh perspective on what that person living with dementia may be experiencing. So that was one thing. And then there were other times where I've had conversations with people living dementia and they're living their best life. They're traveling more than me and they're seeing family members and they're just like, dementia is not the end of me. I will still live life regardless. I will still work, you know, because I think we discredit sometimes people living with dementia. Like they're more capable than we can ever imagine, you know. So they do wonderful things. I know there's a person living with dementia from, I think it's Zambia, and he started the Alzheimer's Association there. And he's very active and vocal. And, you know, this is something he's living with and he's also advocating for. And it's so powerful. So I've met some fantastic people living with dementia that are just saying no to it. They're just living their lives and doing what they need to do to raise awareness for their community. So yeah, that's the experience.
I've heard stories, I've seen documentaries about cruelty to people with dementia, abuse, and more so. What is your advice to those who take care of people with Alzheimer's, dementia, you know, mental health issues and things like that?
I would say evaluate and reflect on your capacity, because it comes to a point where there's a duty level of care there and you want to care for your family members. But if you're not in the best capacity to do so, I think it's better that you reflect and evaluate where you want to go with this care and responsibility. Do you want to share the care work? Because I've seen people sharing the care work with their other family members, or they explore putting the person in a care home, but also having structure in place where they also visit them, because that's something that you don't want to do. You don't want to just leave them and forget about them, you know, because it's not going to help their standing at all. So it's putting them in the care home, but also checking on them, doing activities with them. If they're not in the country or they can't get to them, maybe doing a video call engagement, just making sure that there is some kind of you know, engagement there, so they don't also forget that they have family, because that can happen as well. If they don't see their family, they don't engage with them, they will, you know, naturally forget. So it's just having those things in place, or maybe changing the work responsibilities, doing part-time work instead of full-time, and then doing part-time care. So, you know, the workload doesn't get a burden to the person, because that's where, you know, the abuse comes and so on. And you don't want to get to that point. So I think it's also just making sure that that person gets the best level of care. If it's not from you and it's from somebody else, then that's okay. We need to normalize, you know, just accepting that we don't have the capacity and someone else does, and they can provide the care that, you know, your family member will need, and they will be in a, you know, good professional standing to give that level of care. Because it comes to times where, you know, people are not as mobile as before, and then you have to change their bedding and you have to change them on the bed. Sometimes you cannot even move them, and you have to make sure that you're handling that person with care, because you can also, you know, harm that person, maybe not intentionally, but if you don't have that professional training, then it can do more harm than good. And then it could be classified as abuse unintentionally. So yeah, just being mindful of those things and having people around you that will hold you accountable. Because sometimes we can't see our faults, and we need people around us to just indicate, hey, I don't really like what you're doing here. I don't think it's good practice. You know, you should probably evaluate your standing with your family member. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. In your research, Rianna, have you found or any cure? Is dementia curable?
So there's no cure for dementia as it stands, but there are drugs out there like lecanemab that has been recently approved in the UK, but I don't know how accessible it is to populations at the moment. But that is, a major thing for the dementia space at the moment. And yeah, there's other ways and approaches to slow down the progression or onset or prevent dementia, as we mentioned before. But yeah, in terms of a cure per se, I think we're getting there, but we probably still have a long way to go. But there's a lot of clinical trials that are happening globally. In the US, they're very focused on that as well as the UK. So I'm hopeful that we will get a cure because we definitely need it. But at the moment, it's just slowing down the progression and onset. And looking at the other factors like diabetes and hypertension and how to lessen the impact of that, because that can also impact the dementia symptoms as well.
Tell us about the Dementia Foundation, Rianna, in terms of support. How are you doing?
Yes. I mean, we're doing great. I have a really supportive team. I couldn't ask for more. We have a lot of young people on our board, so we continue to be youth-led. We have Miss Veron Nicholas, who is the president of the Dementia Foundation, and we have trustees. We have a medical board as well. We have a few members involved. And then, like I said, most recently, yesterday, we went to the Dominica State College Health Expo in collaboration with the Dominica Psychological Society. And that's where we were able to engage with the student body there and get new members involved. So I think we do as much as we can, as much as we have capacity, because we are all volunteer-led. We're just taking time out of the schedule to contribute to this area. So it's really much just finding personally invested people, which the foundation has done, which is, a joy to work in this space with committed people. But yeah, I would say that's kind of like our standing at the moment. We're 10 years in 2026. So we'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary then.
Wow. What about the documentary? Tell us. Okay, Nigel, I think you were asking a question. Go ahead, Nigel, and then
go with the documentary.
We can look at, okay.
Yeah, so I directed a documentary called Dementia, the Island Journey, and it's a documentary film on dementia in the Caribbean, and it also encompasses voices of people with dementia from Barbados, Anguilla, and Dominica. I shot it in Dominica, really, the Creole season, because I didn't want this documentary to just be white and black, because a lot of documentaries, it's very educational, but it's a very hard watch and people sometimes don't even finish it. And I wanted this thing to be inclusive, to bring in, a dialogue that people can relate to and engage with. And it is informative, but it's also something that is also interesting to watch to some degree. So that is kind of like the premise of that. I'm bringing in fresh perspective on aging and healthy aging. So that was that production. It took 2 years. I crowdfunded the money to make it happen. I worked with a local team in Dominica, then I worked with a team in the UK, then the editor was in Canada, and we made it happen. We put it together, and right now it's going through the film festival round. So the next film festival is in New York. So our audience from New York will be happy to hear that it will be going through the Conch Shell International Film Festival next month, October 13th. At 1 p.m. at the Regal UA Midway Cinema. So that's in Queens. And I'm really excited about that. It's the first time the documentary will be in the US, engaging with Caribbean US diaspora. So I invite everyone to come to that. But yeah, that was pretty much the aims and premise of the documentary film.
Wonderful. Couple of things here from the, this is from Steinberg Henry. Good morning to you, Stein. How are you doing? Stein wants to know if there's any space for meditation practices in healing dementia. Any word on the imagination of persons with dementia? Can they be great artists and stuff like that? So in terms of meditation, is that one of the healing practices for dementia? Have you done any research on that aspect of it?
I likely came across meditation and dementia, but I don't know a grand deal about it. But I suppose that it can be useful in terms of regulating the nervous system and so on. So yeah, I would say that could work for people with dementia, but yeah, definitely exploring further research would be appreciated in that one.
Beautiful. And then Muriel Stewart wants to know how she can get involved in the Dementia Foundation.
Oh, yes, certainly. I mean, thank you for your interest. I would say contact us through Facebook. So we have a Facebook called the Dominica Dementia Foundation. We also have Instagram, DCA Dementia Foundation, and then also via email as well, which is just Dominica Dementia Foundation @gmail.com. And one of us will pick up the email and then we can take it from there. So we have people who are members outside of Dominica. We have Dominicans residing in Dominica who are members. So we can definitely fit anyone in, who has an interest in the foundation.
Okay, wonderful. So Muriel, you got some information on how you can become part of that process. Any numbers from the foundation, any kind of numbers of how many people in Dominica suffer from dementia? Have you guys done that kind of a part of the study?
Yeah, so not from the foundation recently. We did a report a couple years ago, which was included in the Alzheimer's and Dementia Journal through the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in 2017. But recently, the Lancet published some data on dementia statistics in the Caribbean, and it said that 574 people were living with dementia a couple years ago. I think it was about 3 or 4 years. I think it was 2019, perhaps. And that is expected to rise by 1,000 by 2050. So although it sounds like a small number, but because we're a small population anyways, that's quite a significant number and a significant worry because we're already an aging population. We have a lot of centenarians here and so on. So that number, it is quite worrying. So definitely much to be done in terms of reducing that number if we can. But that is the statistics that I have at the moment.
Okay, beautiful. That back onto the book, I was, sure. Shills Joel's is saying that there are 2 medications that help well with dementia. It's Donepezil, I think. It's
yeah.
Yep. So she would like to know what you think about that particular medication. Does it help in slowing the progress of it? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think donepezil is one of the medications for Alzheimer's disease, but I know that it's used for other forms of dementia. So it's just the matter of seeking advice from a doctor, or particular geriatrician that is more specialized in dementia diagnosis and treatment. But yeah, donepezil is definitely one of them that's on the list.
Okay. What would you say for families who have people who are, and I'm going to use your terms going forward, living with dementia, not suffering from it? What do you say to families who have people who are living with dementia?
I mean, what I say to them, it depends on the person and their standing. Some people, you just kind of look at their situation and their emotional capacity, and you just have to be quite lighthearted with it, depending. But most times I just say, it's a real journey and it's something that one cannot prepare you for at all. It's kind of like life, and just finding what works at that given moment, what works for you, what works for that person, how you meet in the middle, and not neglecting yourself as well as a caregiver. If I'm talking to caregivers, finding that support is integral, whether it be like a social network support, finding social groups. We have a social group network now because we had an influx of people that came to us around, I think, Hurricane Maria, thereabouts, where they were just with their family members 24/7, and it just got a lot for a lot of people. And so we kind of formulated that group so people can share experiences and knowledge. And we have like a standby psychiatrist there just in case of further emotional support. But we would facilitate these discussions so people didn't feel alone in this caring journey. You can't feel alone if you're just you and your family members and there's no one else that you can kind of engage with that, understands really what you're going through. So, finding those social groups is really integral, and it improves the caregiving experience as well. Because sometimes you're thinking, why are you going through this? Why is it you? And you're just in this despair. But if you have people around you that's going through the same thing, then you can work together to, overcome those certain challenges that you may experience. So just thinking of the caregiving journey, not as a lonely one, but finding that community that you can relate to.
Because I mean, it can be. I know it can be tough. Imagine that you 1 minute you know me, next minute you don't know me.
Yes.
So I guess it can be tough on family members who have to go through that, right?
Definitely. And then there's also young carers as well. So young people who are taking care of their family members, their grandparents, their mom, they still have to go to school, they still have to get their education, they're not working, they need finances to take care, because the cost of care, if there is a strong cost, there's medication costs. I mean, for now, I guess in Dominica, there's not much medication costs. If you're an older person, you get free medication, I believe. But there's still transportation costs to get to the hospital, depending where you are, and so on. So for a young person, it's a lot to manage, if you don't have additional family support and that kind of thing. So just, giving yourself grace and also finding people that can support you through that, it's really integral.
But is this at times overwhelming for you? Is it a lot for you? Because you would have seen your grandfather at a young age, and you went into this full-fledged, and you have seen a lot. You're still a very young girl. Oh, at times, does it take, how do you cope with this?
That's a good question. Like, okay, after my psychology degree, I was like, I am so invested in this. I need to do something else because I didn't want to work in dementia full time, like actually be paid for it, a job. Because I'm just like, I know I will burn myself out because I'm so motivated by this. So I did other things. I did film, I did technology, I did marketing, and nothing brought me as much joy as dementia. I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to get back into this because I want to serve well. I don't just want a job. I want a job that will create lasting change. You feel me? So I just had to go back into dementia. I did my master's degree in dementia, and now that's where I am now. So exploring career opportunities to continue to have a career in dementia, because I think that's just where I thrive and where I can make change. And, it's what I know best as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Your grandfather must be smiling, looking down at you and feeling proud.
Yeah, I miss him every day, as well as my grand. She also passed away in 2019 in my second year of university. So that also was something that I also had to go through. I took 3 months off and then went to Dominica, assisted my mom with the funeral proceedings and so on, came back up and did my exams. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough losing both of them in, a span of a couple of years. You know what I mean? These were, my people. They were very instrumental in who I am, supporting me and so on. So losing that support, losing them, losing their love and care, it was a lot. But I think I found joy, and I feel my grandfather's presence through the Dementia Foundation. I'm able to support now people that were in my position, so that gives me really joy and contentment. And then with my grandmother, well, my grandmother and my grandfather were like two people. So they're like the same person, honestly. They were always together. So I feel like the work that I do in the Dementia Foundation also sheds a light on the kind of person that my grandmother was and the principles that she instilled in me, so yeah.
That's a wonderful journey, man, Rianna. A wonderful journey from Picard, Portsmouth, over to the UK, still keeping that Dominican connection and helping those with dementia. I know time is kind of almost there. How do we, in some way, reduce the stigmatization that we have with dementia? How do we get people to not to view it negatively and to treat others who have it in a certain negative way?
I think naturally we do good work in terms of recognizing our older people. There's the Dominica Council on Aging. They've had like a plethora of events and activities for the month of the elderly. And, it's just continuing on that mantle, celebrating the older people, celebrating their achievements. Some of them were scholars back in their day, athletes, professionals, working in the ministry and so on. We shouldn't forget that. We should highlight their achievements wherever we can, because they left the legacy, and we need to just remind people of the legacy that they left. And I think it also normalizes it as well, because when you see an older person, you don't just see the older person, but you remember the person that they was before they were older and how active they were in the community and well respected. So it brings that level of respect as well to them. And yeah, I think naturally, again, we also, say the good morning, good afternoon to everyone, especially elders. So we have that in us to continue to respect our elders. So it's just bringing back those principles to be like, hey, this is your elder, respect them, check up on them in the community, I think is also something that we should do. I know, church, sometimes they do home visits to older people who are not, feeling well and so on. So yeah, just celebrating older people, acknowledging them, and raising the profile, I think, would help us to kind of see older people in a different light, because a lot of them, even though they are retired, they're still great contributors to the society, even more so because they have all the time in the world, they volunteer, they do all of these things. And, we shouldn't forget their contributions.
Wow, Nigel, I'm looking at the time already.
Yes, it's almost that time already. Yes.
We have to bring Rianna back at some point. Yeah, we have to continue that discussion,
because we do have other areas that we haven't explored yet. We definitely want to first of all thank you for connecting with us and for sharing that story and for letting the rest of the family know about dementia and the different types there are and the signs to look for and how to help family members with it and everything else. And for the work that you're doing with the foundation as a young person, it's not often you might find young people being involved in an area that might be, in quotes, older people's thing, So we really appreciate that, Rianna, and the work that you're doing and taking Dominica across the globe, because you represent us wherever you go. So we really thank you for that and appreciate you for that.
Yeah. But just tell us again, Rianna, how we can contact you quickly as we end?
Yes, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook is Dominica Dementia Foundation. Email is dominicadementiafoundation@gmail.com. We have our annual general meeting coming up. So I'm in Dominica presently. I will be there on the 12th of October, 2 to 12 p.m. at the Katai restaurant. So yeah, come and learn more about our exciting new developments and how to become a member. So yeah.
All right, so Miriam, Stewart, take notes. But that's how we have to end, Nigel. It's it's that time we have to end. But I truly enjoyed the program, and I really wish we had more time. But let me congratulate you, Rianna, for your persistence, for your commitment. This shy girl, look at what she has done, and she has so much more to do. And congratulations. The world is your oyster. There's so much happening. You have a good head on your shoulder. Stay focused, my dear.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. So
we'll do it again next week.
Yes, do it again next week. Continued blessings, my dear. Do it again next week.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
So to all those who listened and who viewed, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Major Mystic. Major Mystic.